Hello everybody, and this is Burke Lyle here, and we're going to recap the Bruins versus Islanders Game 6, which took place last night. And the Islanders are advancing to the conference semifinals, or league semifinals this year. There's no conferences, you don't have East versus West. They'll be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, while the Montreal Canadiens, which we could find out in the answer by tonight, will be facing either the Colorado Avalanche or the Vegas Golden Knights. So you'd have three teams from the East, Montreal, New York, Tampa, all part of the kind of Ontario, kind of Eastern time zone area. And then you have Vegas, which is almost as far west as you can be. So this year the playoffs are very different. We're almost done. And you wonder potentially what the crowds will look like. In Boston, we know it's going to be, or not Boston, we know in Tampa it's going to be full. We know in New York it's going to be full. It pretty much is full. And then you know in Vegas it's full. You wonder what Montreal will look like, since you see plenty of people celebrating in Montreal outside. So I think things are starting to change in Quebec, Montreal, we'll see. So first period in this game. And this was really the whole turning point. About 2 minutes into the game, Jacob DeBrusk almost scores at the net. If he scores that goal, are things different? 1-0 Bruins, do things change? Who knows? But then with 11:08 left in the first period, rebound from Noah Dobson. So Dobson shot the puck, deflected. Travis Zajac scored. That was actually his first goal of the playoffs. He was actually scratched early in the playoffs against the Penguins. A long-time New Jersey Devil came along with Kyle Palmieri at the trade deadline. So it was 1-0 Islanders on that goal. And then later on, you're thinking, all right, are the Bruins in business? Well, power play. Pasternak, nice cross-ice pass to Brad Marchand. Comes with 20 seconds left on the power play, 1-1 tie. That's later on in the first period. It was a good fake, since, again, Pasternak, who almost won the Rocket Richard last year, I think he's actually tied with Ovechkin, that lockout or pandemic shortened year. Pasternak in this full season, he looks like a future 50 goal scorer. Looks like he's going to shoot, fakes the pass, gets to Marchand, and it's 1-1, just like that. And then also, this is really the whole turning point right here. So Marchand makes a nice pass to Patrice Bergeron. It's close to the net. Bruins don't score, so Bergeron doesn't capitalize. Less than a minute later, puck's off the boards. So what happens is Nick Leddy shoots the puck off the far side of the boards, and then it goes to Brock Nelson's basically 50-50 ball or puck between him and Matt Grzelcyk, who had a rough game in Game 6. Scores to give the Islanders the lead. It's 2-1 at that point. And less than 2 minutes later, guess what? Bailey, Nelson, Beauvillier, kind of that second line, almost scores on a turnover against the perfection line. Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak. So again, it is clear the Islanders are dominating at this point in time. And then you have 8:30 left in the second period, so Charlie Coyle fails to tie the game on a backhanded shot. I mean, I looked it up. I mean, he had a rough game last night. -4 in the series, he was -8. So his line, Coyle usually on that third line had a rough series. Really, besides the perfection line, no one really did anything for the Bruins. So 7:21 left, about a minute later. Coyle fails to tie the game. Brock Nelson scores another goal. Came on a pass from Josh Bailey. Again, kind of forechecking, kind of puck in their own zone. Rask actually made kind of a careless pass. And it's all of a sudden 3-1, so Brock Nelson, yet another goal. That Nelson-Bailey, they've kind of been a good second-line combination over the last couple of years with Trotz in the playoffs. This year in the playoffs as well. So a few minutes later, 3:53 left in the second period. So Kyle Palmieri scores on a deflection from Adam Pelech. This came against the perfection line as well. Rask failed to freeze the puck. So he failed to freeze the puck. It's 4-1. And again, that deflection, don't freeze the puck. Palmieri gets it in. He's had a really good playoffs. I think he scored, 4 goals this series? Palmieri, kind of that trade deadline acquisition, has had goal scoring power in the past, 25, 30 goal scorer on some Devils teams, kind of their best goal scorer for a number of years. And then later on, and it's really too little too late at this point in time. It's 4-1, really 3-1. That's when it was kind of it. Marchand scores a power play goal, 14 minutes left, cuts the lead to 4-2. And then Cutterbuck and then Ryan Pollock score those goals, and it's 6-2, empty netter. So the perfection line, they did not play very well in that game. They're scored against, and that empty net stuff doesn't help as well. I mean, those two goals. So again, Bruins guys' numbers may look worse than they are, but regardless of the outcome, the Bruins lose and their season's over. And with that, it's interesting. Marchand, Pastrnak scored 10 of the 17 Bruins goals in the series. Only David Krejci scored more than one after that. So the rest of the team, whether you have DeBrusk, whether you have Taylor Hall, reading about him, he had a good series against Washington. Kind of fell through in the playoffs. I mean, Taylor Hall was acquired to help that second line scoring. And again, the perfection line is about as good as any line in hockey. Patrice Bergeron, Selke winner. I think I was reading is a finalist for the 10th year in a row. Kills penalties. Marchand, Bergeron, always a threat on the penalty to kill. You never know. Marchand is a 100-point per game player, can score 30, 40 goals in a year. He's done that. He's really been really valuable over the last 5 years. And then obviously David Pastrnak, Rocket Richard candidate every year. Might score 50 goals next year as the NHL gets ready to return to normal. And the perfection line, I can't think of a better line than the perfection line. I mean, sure, in Tampa with Point and Kucherov, of course. Kucherov missed most of the year. I mean, you can go through different lines in hockey, but that has to be the best line in hockey, I think. I mean, I could do a whole nother conversation on that later. But then the second line, David Krejci is a good second line center. But what do you have outside of that? Sure, you had Taylor Hall, but it's kind of changed over the years. Jacob DeBrusk never became a player we thought he might not come. And I think Charlie Coyle, I mean, yes, he had a bad series. Yes, his number looks bad. Again, I'd have to look at that in more detail. But the Bruins liked him enough to give him a long-term extension. Now, whether he can be an effective player the whole time, that's a whole other question. But for this Bruins team, they just don't have those same pieces. They're not the same, and you wonder what direction this Bruins team is going in. But first, we want to talk about Islanders that had their best series so far in the playoffs. So Kyle Palmieri in this series had 4 goals, 6 points. Barzal, 6 total points in the series, having a good series. Jean-Gabriel Pageau, I mean, he's on against the perfection line a lot. Power play, penalty kills sometimes. Really pesky player. Just really annoys teams. 2 goals, 4 assists in the series for Pageau. Plus minus, which again, that stat doesn't mean a whole lot. But if you think about it in this entire series, plus 6 in the entire series overall, and a lot of that time is spent against the perfection line. I mean, you see Pageau against the perfection line a lot. So that says something. Brock Nelson went on to score 2 goals. In that game, Josh Bailey had multiple assists, 5 points as well. So looking at that team, Casey Zizekas is a 4th line guy, including that Game 2 overtime winner. I mean, again, Boston was on the verge of taking a 2-0 lead. Casey Zizekas scores that overtime goal. That's the whole turning point in the series. And really, after Marchand scores that Game 3 goal, that's it. That's it. Bruins don't win another game. Islanders win 3 games in a row. They were down 2-1 against Pittsburgh. They did the same thing. Again, this is a really good Islanders team. And then you want to talk about the total playoffs. And again, granted, it's not 100% accurate, but the leading scorer in the playoffs for the Islanders, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, plus 11. And this comes against, again, what I'm just talking about. The Crosby line, the Malkin line, perfection line, plus 11 against them. 3 goals, 13 assists as well. I mean, that is astonishing. Second best player, Josh Bailey, 5 goals, 6 assists total in the playoffs. Brock Nelson has 6 goals in the playoffs. Kyle Palmieri with 7 goals in the playoffs. He's having a really good playoffs so far for this team. in the playoffs. You're starting to see Noah Dobson emerge, having multiple assists. I think is starting to take over as could be a potential power play leader. Is only 21 for this team. So this is an Islanders team where, and again, I'm going to say this a lot. I've had these thoughts a lot. Where do you have the best player on the ice? I mean, in what situations? I mean, their top line. Barzal, I mean, obviously Anders Lee out for the year. That hurts. That's a whole nother story. But again, Barzal, you add in Leo Komarov, who used to be kind of on that Matt Martin and Tzidki's line. Kind of that fourth line guy. Komarov kind of moving up to the top line. I mean, Komarov, physical player. But then having, again, Eberle and Matt Barzal as your top line, I mean, that's not better than the perfection line. That's not better than matching up against Sidney Crosby. It's just simply not. And granted, they don't match up against each other. Like, again, their top line will not play another team's top line. That's why they kind of put on that shutdown line, which what I'm talking about. Oh, I think Carolina, I think when they're fully healthy, I think they can have a very good top line as well. I mean, just numerous teams. Oh, Colorado, of course. You know what? McKinnon, Burakovsky. I'm sorry. McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog. That at times I think can be one of the best top lines in hockey for sure. When they're all healthy, when they're all performing at a high level, I think that's a good discussion. But again, the Islanders will not put their best player on the ice against the other team's best player, at least offensive player. So that's why they do shutdown lines. So again, a lot of the time, if you want to say the best player in the series, like the potentially the best player, the Islanders do not have that Sidney Crosby perfection line. They're going up against Tampa. They don't have, say, a player I'd say as good as Brady Point or Steven Stamkos, at least prime Steven Stamkos. Now talking about Nikita Kucherov, they don't have that. They don't have those type of players. The Islanders do not. Or whether you go back to the first round last year when they played the Capitals, they don't have that Ovechkin or Backstrom or Kuznetsov player when they're right. So the Islanders, they're very well coached. So just quickly want to talk about the future of the Bruins as we get ready to wrap up. So right now you have, in terms of free agents, Taylor Hall's going to be a free agent. That's a tough decision whether you pay him or not, whether you think he's going to contribute like he did in the regular season, or are you wondering, just what are you getting out of Taylor Hall? You don't know. Really played poorly in Buffalo, picked it up in Boston. Then you have, you're wondering the future of Jacob DeBrusk is under contract for one more year. That's going to be an interesting question. Krejci's going to be a free agent. He's been there a long time. You wonder if you decide to re-sign him or not. Other players that will be free agents that's scrolling down. I think the biggest thing is the defensemen. You're going to have to decide how much money you want to pay Brandon Carlo. What concerned me is the writers talked about potential concussion issues. Charlie McAvoy is going to be paid very soon. Then you decide whether to bring back Mike Riley or not. That'll be an interesting discussion. So the Bruins, after losing Torrey Krug, after losing Chari, their defensemen kind of got mixed up over time. So this is a team that has some decisions to make for sure. Now, oh, by the way, Pasternak has just, I guess, this year and then next year on his contract, so has 1 year remaining on that contract as well. I guess, or no, 2 more years remaining, I would say. So either way, you're going to have to pay Pasternak a lot of money. So the Bruins, they're going to have to make some decisions. Now, are they a playoff team next year? Yes. Can they win the Stanley Cup? I mean, they almost did it 2 years ago. They won the President's Trophy last year. Maybe this year is a minor setback. They had a good year. They just ultimately just couldn't get it done against the Islanders again. Trotz, if there's anything he's good at doing, it's out coaching. It's out coaching. Found a way to out coach. I mean, just out coached Bruce Cassidy. Out coached Mike Sullivan. Good coaches. Out coached Todd Reirden. Reirden got fired for that. Won a Stanley Cup with the Capitals. Trotz is a great coach. So the Islanders Lightning series, I'll be interesting to see if they can yet again maybe beat a team that is better than them on paper. It will be interesting to see whether they can do them or not. So that is everything. This is Burke Lyle here. We will see you next time.